We're going to switch gears now and talk about effective presentations. Chapter 12 in our text is an excellent resource for preparing a presentation. Really, there are 5 key areas to think about. The first is preparation. Know your purpose and your audience. Just like you would to think through a communications strategy, think about your audience. What will their needs be? What level of conversation will you have with them? What kind of audience will they be? Are they going to be interested, hostile, uninterested, friendly? If you're going to present to an audience that you know will be friendly, you can be warm, pleasant, and open. Use lots of eye contact and personal examples. You can also use humor with this group. If you anticipate that you're going to have a neutral audience, be sure to present all sides of an issue. Be confident in your presentation. Use small gestures and present facts and statistics. Will your audience be rather somewhere else other than at your presentation? Keep the lights up, don't darken the room, and allow them to drift off. Make use of interesting visuals and be dynamic. Move around the room, use humor to gain and keep their attention. What about a hostile audience? The one pictured here I think is a bit more serious than hostile, but you get the picture. For this group, you may want to use a matter-of-fact approach. Organize your presentation chronologically. Speak calmly. Avoid anecdotes and be objective. So the second of 5 key areas to focus on when preparing a presentation is on how you're going to organize your content. Who recalls the principles we have for writing key messages? What are they? Use repetition. Tell them what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you just said. Repeat your main points in the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. You may think it's boring, but it's going to help drive home your message. Remember, you want to capture your audience's attention and get them involved. This is what I used to describe the Hey Martha effect. Remember the first lead of a story, or the first sentence of a story, the lead, is where you have the opportunity to draw in your reader. My goal as a journalist was that, and to draw in those around him. You want Walter at the breakfast table to turn to Martha and share the story too. You need to do this with your audience. Identify yourself to them and preview your main points. Think about the principles of persuasion that we talked about. Use some of those tools and techniques. There are also more ways of gaining attention on page 221 of the BCom text. As you're writing the body of your presentation, remember those key message principles. Summarize your key points during your conclusion. This is the part that listeners will remember more than any other part of your presentation. Which brings us to point number 3. Build rapport with your audience. Bond with them, entertain, and inform them. Put some zest into your presentation with analogies, such as sitting through this boring presentation is similar to watching paint dry, or metaphors. This speaker is a hack when it comes to delivery. Similes. Delivering a good presentation is like having a baby. There's lots of workup, a few moments of intense pain, and then you're left wondering, what do I do now? Personal anecdotes. Let me tell you about the worst presentation I ever made. Personalized statistics. Look around the room. 2 out of 3 of you are playing Angry Birds. You can use worst and best case scenarios and use examples. Being able to deliver a good presentation is as important as writing it. As an example, have you ever been to a presentation where the speaker drones on and on, reading off their slides? Ever had a conversation with a close friend that jumps around, and although you haven't had a segue, you don't skip a beat in your conversation? Well, making a presentation is nothing like that at all. And when you're worried about audience rapport, you want to build in a few tricks of the trade. It's really easy for your audience to get lost. especially when your topic jumps around. There are a few tricks you can use to ensure that everyone stays on track. These are called verbal signposts. I've got a couple of visual ones on the screen. Previewing is the first form of a visual signpost. The next segment of our talk or switching directions. So far, we've talked about now let's move to and summarizing. Let me review with you. Don't forget, there are also nonverbal messages that you send that can help with rapport building with your audience. Look terrific. Like it or not, you're being judged by your appearance. Animate your body. Be enthusiastic and show it. Punctuate your words. Remember our discussion on oral communication? Move around and use facial expression. And that brings us to number 4 on our list of areas for focus for presentations, visual aids. There's a Chinese proverb, show me, I remember, involve me, I understand. Your goals as a presenter are to make your audience understand, sometimes to remember and act. Remember, 85% of what we learn visually. So good visuals emphasize main points, improve understanding and retention. They can also increase audience interest and help the presenter appear more prepared and perhaps be more persuasive. Good visuals can jog the memory of the speaker as well. There are many types of visuals that can be used: multimedia projectors, handouts, blackboards, whiteboards, and smartboards, for example. So why is this all important? There are 30 million PowerPoint presentations that Microsoft estimates are created every day. Unfortunately, many of them look like this, and I can use this because I was the director of communications for this organization several years ago. It's Death by PowerPoint. It was particularly interesting as the leaders of the organization also hated PowerPoint, so they wanted to try out Prezi. But they wouldn't seem to move away from the amount of information on each slide. Now, I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to roller coaster, and the thought of a Prezi with so much crazy data made me a little bit more than motion sick. You can present better slides than this. So how do we do it? How do we create a presentation that works? Your first step is to do some analysis. How will the presentation be used and where? Again, who is your audience? What will their reaction be? Keep your slides to maximum 6 bullets per slide and 6 words per bullet. That's still an awful lot of words on a slide. And organize your content. And finally, the last of our 5 areas, the delivery. Plan your presentation and talk from notes. You don't need to memorize them, but you don't need to read it either. You need to maintain eye contact. To have the best delivery, be prepared. Beat stage fright by knowing your subject thoroughly. Rehearse your entire presentation using your visual aids. And make sure you time yourself when you do it. Nothing can throw you off your game, like looking up and seeing a timekeeper waving frantically at you, and you still have a dozen slides to cover. Ask for a lectern. Having something stable in front of you on which you can put your notes can be grounding. And don't forget to look up and engage with your audience. The value of you being there in person to make the presentation is all about the connection. Feed off of their positive energy and enjoy the experience.